have to say, I don't really understand this move from the Yankees' perspective. I really don't. You can never have too much pitching. I know they went and got Frankie Montas. Jordan Montgomery's pretty dang good. You can always have a need for somebody, even if he's in the bullpen, giving you innings. It'd be one thing if Harrison Bader was healthy. That's what I'm saying. I get it. If you have a need in center field and you don't want Aaron Judge to be playing center field, I 100% get wanting to trade for Harrison Bader.
Yeah.
But right now, with his foot barking, and even if he's playing, is he going to be 100%? I get it for next year. But I don't understand that move from the Yankees' perspective as you're trying and have a very good chance to win the World Series this year.
Do you think Nestor Cortez ascending had something to do with it? Because there's no way that they envisioned he would pan out lefty pitcher as well.
I get that. But again, you can never have too much pitching.
Yeah,
you can never have too much pitching. There's going to be dudes in your postseason that are going to make 3-inning starts. And maybe it could be Jordan Montgomery, but maybe you could bring that guy out of the bullpen to give you some length out of the pen. I just don't understand. I get it for next year.
Here's the other side of the deal that I didn't get, but hey, I really like it, how it turned out for the Cardinals, so I'm not really going to criticize it too much. You got Aaron Hicks, who's your quote-unquote everyday guy, who's probably the pure center fielder they got on their roster right now. Over the last 3 years, he's hitting .218. I mean, and he's on the books until 2026, I believe. So it's not like you also have a pending opening that's coming up, or you got Bader, who's not going to cost more money as he's going through arbitration. I think he got 5.3 last year. That's going to go up still. So I don't know. I don't understand it. But the thing I also say about the Yankees is that they're in the asset collecting business. They don't look at things the same way as most any other team. They're collecting assets. Cashman probably had a plan for what that looked like, and hey, it is what it is. But it was probably, in my mind, looking at all the moves that got made, probably the weirdest move of the deadline.
I think it's great for the Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's great for this year, for next year. You've figured out center field. I think you have seen enough from Dylan Carlson to say that man can be your center fielder. And then Jordan Montgomery helps them this year, helps them next year. And Harrison Bader, I don't see him playing a lot this year for the Yankees. Yeah. And if he does, I think he's still going to be physically compromised. And that's why when you read about that trade, that there's potentially a player to be named later if Harrison Bader is not able to make the New York Yankees postseason roster, because that's a legitimate concern, as it should be.
Cray Langford chimes in and goes, Yankees are trying to help us knock out the Padres in the postseason so they don't have to play them in the World Series.
I doubt that.
When's Tatis Jr. coming back?
I'm not sure about
He's
that.
working out. He's working out. I think he's probably before the end of the month, I would expect for him to be back in the game.
Man, he comes back. Is there anybody touching those guys or what?
Yeah,
the Dodgers.
I mean, they're still not the best team in their division. I mean, it's nice, but the Dodgers have got guys that could be getting back in the swing of things too. And you just look at that lineup. I mean, trust me.
But what do you do then?
Tatis, Soto, Machado. A couple other guys. Cronenworth's a good player. Brandon Drury is a good pickup. They made a lot of good pickups. However, I still look at the Dodgers and it's like, what are you supposed to do there? Like I look at the Braves and the Mets still as a little bit ahead of where the Padres are at.
Yeah, but if you're the Padres, you're like, okay, we got to do something.
I don't fault the Padres for what they did. I mean, they're all in. They're doing what they got to do. But still, I mean, prove me wrong. I'm all good for it. Either way, prove me wrong.
Yep.
But the Dodgers team is still just pretty scary.
And that's where, too, I'll look up the standings here. Yeah, they're 11 and a half games back. The Padres are. So no matter what, they're not catching the Dodgers. Now, they're going for it, and they're going to be very formidable in the postseason, but there's no way they get one of those buys. You're still looking at the Dodgers and either the Mets or if the Braves can chase them down. But you're going to have to win a playoff series to face a team like the Dodgers. And I'm glad they're going for it, but you're looking at a team in the Padres that still right now is 11 and a half games behind the Dodgers in their own division.
Yeah.
They do have the rotation to do it, though. It's Musgrove, Darvish, Manaea.
But you're going to also face, if Walker Buehler comes back,
Yep.
You're going to be facing Kershaw and Buehler and Urias and Gonsolin. I mean, they have a nasty rotation as well.
Is there a chance they meet in the first round, the Dodgers and Padres? I guess the Dodgers would get a bye, right?
Yeah, they'll get a bye.
Okay. So
Well, this is the first year of the playoff format that you've got right now, and I think you're going to see the reason why I like expanded playoffs is it does entice more teams to be competitive, right?
Does it?
So I do. I truly do. Because
But based on this trade deadline, do you think that's actually true?
I do. I think so because here's the thing: when you've got more teams that are on the fringe that are willing to get into it, I truly think that it is going to entice more to get to be a part of it. I think this year's National League is a little different because you've got the Cardinals who are just outside the picture right now. They're a half game out coming into today. But then you've got the Giants that are 5.5 out. How the Giants approached the trade deadline, I thought was odd because they didn't sell off. And they didn't really look to add either. I think that they were one of the ones that kind of stood pat that didn't make a lot of sense. And even though it wasn't a lot of huge splashy moves, the National League right now is a tale of two different classes. I mean, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Padres, and the Braves are just far away from everybody else. But I think that over time, it would make a lot more sense for teams like Miami and Arizona and San Francisco to get out of it. But they just didn't this year. But I do think it's going to entice more competitiveness from the trade deadline going forward.
Yeah, see, I think I agree with you. There's in the National League, you have, I'd say, 3 tiers. You have the really top tier, Mets, Braves, and I'm going to go Dodgers, Padres. You have tier 2, which is Phillies, Brewers, Cardinals, and I'll be nice and throw in the San Francisco Giants. And then everybody else kind of sucks.
Yeah, it falls off. They falls
That's
off
the
the
third
side of the
tier.
earth.
But see, I think if you look at, now this happened more in the American League, but I think if you look at what happened or didn't happen at the trade deadline, I think it kind of backfired for Major League Baseball, thinking that if you expand the playoffs, more teams will try to win. And if you look at teams that were on the cusp and are still on the cusp of making the playoffs, look at the Orioles. The Orioles haven't been good in forever. They're only a game and a half back, and they sold off. They sold off their best reliever. They sold off Trey Mancini. Keep going down. The Guardians are 1 game back. Did they do anything? The White Sox are 2 games back. They didn't do anything. And so I see 3 or 4 teams, and I'll throw the Giants in there. The Giants didn't sell off, but they also didn't add. So I'm looking at teams like the Giants, and then those teams I mentioned like Baltimore, Cleveland, and the White Sox, all having a legit shot to make the playoffs, and none of them did anything, in my opinion, to actually make themselves better. And in some cases, teams like the Orioles actually sold off when they have a chance to get in the playoffs for the first time in forever.
I think that what you'll see, kind of the moves that obviously, there was the opportunity for a huge move here for the Cardinals. I think that, we know that didn't work out and the reasons why it didn't work out. But when you look at the action from those 6 teams that are outside of the postseason right now, if you go back just a couple of years ago in the old format, you're erasing 2 of those teams from it right away. So the window to get in the playoffs is a lot more narrow, but now it's wide open. But at least you saw the action from those teams that are on the perimeter. Throw out the Padres and the Dodgers. Atlanta added. The Phillies added. They all went out and did things. Even minor moves like what the Cardinals did, they tweaked and moved and tried to get better in the places that they need to. So I think you're going to see, in years past, you might see one or two really big moves. Like you would have saw Soto and a HADER move. It might not have went to the same team. I think that this was the 8th time ever that you had 2 All-Stars from the same season get acquired to the same team at the deadline. But I think the fact that you saw action in those teams that are on the fringes, that's good. I think that that's what I like to see, and that shows that you're going to have a more competitive final month of the season should everybody stay healthy.
I think if you look at what happened in the Central, and I'm not saying this is directly correlated, but there's also a morale factor when you either make moves or don't. Go back a couple weeks, a month ago. Remember when Nolan Arenado said, hey, it's good to add. It's good to add. And he was essentially calling out the front office also and saying, hey, we don't want to win the wild card. We want to win the division.
Yes.
You want to be on a team that adds at the trade deadline. Now, you can critique the Cardinals for not getting Soto, but the Cardinals 100% absolutely addressed their needs. Now, will it be enough to overcome the Brewers or to make a World Series run? I don't look at them as a World Series contender, but they saw deficiencies, especially starting rotation, and they addressed that. Look at the Brewers. The Brewers traded off arguably the best closer in all of baseball. And I understand why they did it. They did it more to compete long term. And they got some good assets back in return. But don't you think there's a morale element to this? I'm not saying the Brewers lost the last 2 games to the Pirates just for this reason, but the Brewers have lost 3 straight games, and you lost 2 to the Pirates. And I just don't think it goes well in a clubhouse when you're trying to win a division, you're trying to make the postseason, you're trying to make a World Series run, and the front office says, hey, we're going to trade the best closer in baseball this year while you're trying to hold off the Cardinals and you're trying to chase down some of these better teams in the National League. We are going to trade away the best closer in baseball.
Gee, thank you.
And I don't care if you add Trevor Rosenthal, who I hope is really good.
Yeah, like him a
that
lot.
don't play well in the clubhouse. I promise you, the Brewers players were pissed about that.
Well, you saw Devin Williams' comments that they showed on the broadcast here on Tuesday night. He barely could. He was trying not to get himself in trouble with what he was saying in the interview. And you got to know it's not just him. I mean, and that's the guy that got the opportunity due to HADER being gone. But then he goes out last night, blows the save, to the Pirates, which
they're really good though.
It feels way worse when you blow a save to a team that's 20 games under 500.
They got that big shortstop though, don't they?
And he's something else. O'Neal Cruz, he'll
be gone soon.
But but you look at that. And for me, that's why I look at what the Cardinals have got right now. They've got a wide open window to get hot, to do some things right here, and to take advantage of a team that's probably in a much different mental space than they are. The Cardinals, although it's not Juan Soto out there, they've got to feel good about having new guys that have come in that are going to help them carry the load on that, and that should propel them up.
Let me get a couple here, do a couple live reads. Erica Situeston chimes in and goes, it's ironic that Arenado said what he said, and the Rockies were the only team that didn't make any moves. Jackie chimes in and goes, Charlie, you still have to give a shout-out to similar market teams like the Mariners and the Twins for making big additions to make them a legit threat this year. No one wants to sound crazy saying it, but the Twins have a pretty elite roster. Jackie chimed in.
Yes, but they're also in first place. I give them credit. I was talking more about teams chasing them.
Yeah.
The Guardians and the White Sox are 1 game back and 2 games back. Did they do anything? And by the way, Seattle is in right now a wild card spot. So good for them. They're way behind their division. I'm glad Seattle is going for it also, but they're currently in a playoff spot. I'm talking about the teams that are 1, 2, 3, 4 games out with 2 months to play that basically said, we're not even going to try to go for the playoffs like the Orioles. In fact, we're going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
And we're going to trade away some of our assets
Smack the
when we
face.
have one of the best chances to make the postseason in recent years for a franchise like Baltimore that's been awful.
And here's the thing I say, we talk about the Mariners too, is that the Mariners are on a 20-year playoff drought, I think, at this point.
20 years?
Yeah, I think they're on the 20-year playoff drought. It's by far the longest in baseball. They've got to do it. Like, you have to go for it when you're in that situation. I think that you don't love to hear it here. I think there's a lot of people, and I don't begrudge them for feeling this way, that want the Cardinals to be more all in, decisively saying, we are going to try to win the World Series this year, not be competitive this year and stay competitive in other years. I get that. The Mariners have to do it. Have to.
Yeah, man.
And it's a different situation, and that's why, again, they traded away the top of their system in order to get it done and to get Luis Castillo, who maybe makes that difference, but it's a continuation of what they've been doing. They spent big money in free agency this offseason. They keep on adding people. They bring it in because they've got the urgency, but they also are chasing a team they are not going to catch. So they're trying to make in the Astros. So they're trying to make a difference here and trying to shake it up in the wild card, which is an all right strategy. But I still think the Cardinals are trying to do something different.
Yeah, good point, man. Good point. I like the emotion, Maddie. I like it.
I care.
I like it.
I care. I'm not getting up this early and not caring.
Gio chimes in goes, the Padres lineup now versus the Dodgers lineup, question mark. I'd take the Padres lineup, Machado, Tatis, Soto, and Bell, because they have heavies now. The Padres at this point are all in with a number 1, number 2, number 4 prospects being dished to D.C. I'd like to see the Padres square up with the Dodgers and beat them in the playoffs.
They're also keeping up with the Dodgers, who've got, I don't know, Mookie Betts. They've got Freddie Freeman. They got Will Smith. They got Trey Turner. You got to go get another guy to keep up with that.
Kyle chimes in. My favorite trade deadline for a team was what the Rockies did. Nothing brings me more comfort than an opposing team with absolutely no direction. They keep coming in. Joey Gallo to the Dodgers is definitely the weirdest move. Colby Rasmus's dad chimed in on that. Yep.
What if he figured it out, though? That's what's funny is if you'd have made that move 3 years ago and you say you get Joey Gallo, wow, what an amazing move. Now he's traded away because, all due respect, he's terrible. I mean, he's awful. But if he could figure it out, that dude's a weapon.
Line up with Cody Bellinger and Joey Gallo swinging at the bottom of it.
Well, Cody Bellinger, I know he's recently been all right, but that dude also,
Yeah.
something happened to him, man. He went from MVP to forgetting how to hit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we've seen that firsthand with some dudes lately, with Matthew Carpenter and Paul DeYoung for a little bit there. Now he figured it out.